Alafia, peace and blessings, everyone. I hope that you are all well and living in Eray. I have something that I want to talk about briefly, and this video is inspired by some of the questions that I'm asked and some of the conversations that I've been a part of. And some people are questioning why. Why isn't my life improving? I am doing my spiritual work, I'm getting readings. Why aren't things getting better? That subject, we can unpack that for hours, right? But for the sake of the video, I want to make sure that it's short and it's to the point. So I wrote down a list of some main points that you want to make sure that you are covering when you are doing spiritual work to increase the success and improvement of your life and your goals, right? So the first number one I want to speak about, which I always mention, is spiritual hygiene. It doesn't matter how much work you're doing, how many readings you are doing, if you are not cleansing yourself, right? If you aren't cleansing yourself, making sure that you are clean, not just physically, but spiritually, removing blockages. This can hinder or stagnate your work. I always say, there's always a reason for a spiritual bath. Everything has an energetic signature. We are constantly brushing up against things, stepping in things, touching things, all day long. We are absorbing. We're like spiritual sponges. I've mentioned that before. So there's always a reason to clean yourself. That's really important. Simple, right? But often overlooked. So that may be one thing. Second thing, character. Character, that's a big one. So you get your reading, you get your prescription, you go do this, you have to go do that, create this, make that, give this spirit this, right? But you are still walking in bad character. You are still maybe being mean to people, even cursing all the time, being selfish, not having gratitude, so on and so forth. Just not improving yourself, the way you come across to people, right? That is another thing that can hinder you. Bad behavior can hinder your spiritual work and your outcome of that work. So that is important. That is another very powerful thing to consider. Not just lighting candles, not just doing this and that, but you got to modify your behavior. That's really important. For instance, I can be upset and sad because I don't have any friends, but then I'm rude. I'm mean. I don't know how to treat people properly, how I would want to be treated. So you have to consider those things. Character modification is just as important as the spiritual work that you are giving. It goes hand in hand. It is equal. One is not greater than the other. But if there were one to be greater than the other, I would say character always, right? So that's number two. Number three, so just speaking of prescriptions, right? The spiritual work that is given. Timeliness is of the essence. Time is of the essence. When you are prescribed a spiritual working to improve something in your life, you cannot procrastinate with that. You cannot slack on that. I always like to give the example of when we are divining, when we are gaining the advice and insight from our spirits, all things are being considered in that very moment that led you to that very moment, past, present, and future. It all comes together to, all combines to give you the perfect remedy, if you will, to alleviate whatever's going on. And because all things change, nothing stands still, nothing stays the same. If you wait too long, circumstances can change. And right with that, so can the prescription, so can the remedy, so can the fix, right? So that's very, very important. And when you are doing these things, you want to make sure you see it all the way through. You can't half step, right? Oh, I know I was told that I needed a candle, I needed this herb, but I'm just going to skip the candle and just take a bath in these herbs. It's just a simple example. Well, you halfway did the work, right? So how can you expect to produce satisfying results? I always like to use the example of a doctor visit, right? We go to the doctor, we don't feel well, we get a prescription for antibiotics, right? The doctor tells us that it is very important that we take the full dosage. We take all of the medicine. You may start to feel better in a couple of days, but keep taking the prescription until it is all the way complete. Why? Because if you don't do that, then the sickness, the virus, the parasite may come back 10 times stronger because now it may be a little bit immune to the medicine you gave it, right? So it's the same thing. You want to see your prescriptions all the way through. Just because you see improvement, just because things start to get better, doesn't mean that the work is complete. So that is a big one. A lot of people would give up because, hey, listen, I did a money spell, quote unquote, right? And oh, I just got my big first payout. Oh, I'm done. I ain't got to keep on. I don't have to see this thing all the way through. I'm already seeing, money coming in. Next thing you know, you lose that money, So you just want to make sure you see your prescriptions completely and not substitute things. Things are divine for your unique situation. So that's very important to consider. Okay, so I spoke about the time frame. Faith, you cannot be doubtful as well. So once you do those prescriptions, know that things are always on divine timing. We don't get to tell the spirits, okay, well, I gave you this, right? So I'm expecting by the time I wake up in the next 24 hours, I want to see change. I want to see improvement. It just doesn't work like that. We need to give things time to manifest. We need to give times to materialize. Depending on what your problem is, it could take time. Just like gaining weight, we don't do it overnight. So we can't really expect it just because we do some sit-ups and some push-ups and we sweat a little bit and we run, that we should have 10 pounds off the scale by tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way. Depending on the circumstance, depending on, the severity of what you are going through, it can take months, sometimes even years, to start seeing results. So that can happen. The work that you did 7 months ago, a year ago, may just now start to kind of start showing, itself. So you have to keep that in mind. And that's important because in that period where people have problems being patient and lacking in faith, that lack of faith, that doubtfulness, being pessimistic, now you're doubting the work you did, can also affect it negatively and hinder it. You can lose faith in your spirits, and then that causes other issues. So you have to go in understanding that, right? So that's very, very important. Also, with that being said, too, with a lack of, relationship, reciprocation is very important. You want to make sure that you have a solid relationship with your spirits. If you know that you kind of neglect them, or you're kind of just starting to get closer and get to know your spirits, curating that relationship with your spirits, that can also take effect on how quickly they work for you, right? Because you're still building with them. You're still getting to know them. It's not like you have been giving them things, offerings for years now. You guys are like this and you're solid. That is a factor too. So, you never do anything for them, or you're just not getting to know them. That can also be a reason why things may not come as quickly, versus as this is a very solid, long-standing relationships with this particular spirit, and they work like this. I've gotten to know them. They know me, and I know how to speed things up with them. I know how to appease them. I know what they like. So that's another thing to be to consider. That relationship of reciprocation is very important too. So you just can't expect them to do, and you're not giving to them. You're not giving to them at all, right? So that is important. You can't be a taker. You also have to give back as well. So that is important too. You can't forget about them. That reminds me of a story with Oshun and O'Shea. How she were giving to the people of Osobo. They were suffering. They were in misery. They wanted children, right? And I'm gonna make this short. And they came to her, and they asked for help. She blessed them. She gave them children, but she said, "Don't forget about me." They said, "Oh, we won't forget about you, Oshun." She said, "Yes, you will," and they did. And how she brought them back is that she gave all their children fever, so they had to come back. you know, to appease Oshun, and that's how they start serving her. So that was just a quick example of how spirits, you say, hey, don't forget about me. I've done this for you. What are you going to do for me? Right? So that is very important. No one wants to feel used and abused, you know, bottom line. Also, one last point, when it comes to things manifesting in your life, when it comes to seeing results, depending on what the situation was, the severity of the situation, be prepared and understand that the work that you put in this lifetime may not actually even take effect in this lifetime, meaning that what you put in now, how you try to correct things now to live a better life later, may not even manifest in this lifetime. It may actually improve your next lifetime, right? Because a lot of times when we come back, it's because we have to improve something, we have to fix something, we have to learn some sort of lesson. So the lessons that we are learning now, the good choices that we are making now, may not repay itself back to us until we reincarnate. So that's another thing people don't tend to think about sometimes, right? We may not be rewarded to much later on. Like I said, even another lifetime, right? So the spiritual realm is vast, it's perplexed, it's complex, it's all of that. So you just have to go in with faith, knowing that I'm doing this for all the right reasons with the right intention. And with that being said, intention is very important. What is your why? What is your reason? Why are you doing this, right? Is it going to harm somebody? Who are the other factors? What are the other factors, right? So that's it, guys. That's what I wanted to say. Like I said, this is a big thing. A lot of people want quick, fast results. Spirits are not, you know, they don't, it just simply doesn't work that way, right? Everything is not microwavable. You can't have it done in 60 seconds, right? All right, guys, that's all I wanted to say. I love you all. Thank you so much for listening to this video. And I hope that you guys start to see results and improvement. And most of all, I hope you should take care of yourself. And remember, practicality goes with spirituality. Help your spirits help you. You know, that's very important, because we just can't expect the spirits to handle everything. And we just sit back with our feet kicked up, tapping our fingers on the table and like, okay, y'all need to hurry up. You know, it doesn't work like that. You also have to do things on your end too. Just like I spoke about before, character modification may be one, going to the doctor may be something else. You might need to go get mental therapy, you know, see a psychologist, you know, all types of things. You might have to go and tell somebody sorry, put your ego to the side, all those things. So once again, I hope this video finds you well. I hope you are all walking in your blessings, your peace of mind, and all those things that we strive for in this lifetime. And I hope that you feel those effects faster and sooner than later. Ashe.